Okay, I'm I'm worn out. I'm not gonna lie. I shot you guys a video last night, and sorry it was so late. I just with working 9 to 5 and then going straight to B Dubs. I really didn't have time to really do anything, so I couldn't get you guys an early video, and so tired right now. I was gonna hit the hay really soon, but I wanted to make sure I got you guys a video about what happened on Impact last night, and you know what? I actually did enjoy the show. The show was pretty good, and if you're not into Aces and Eights and you're not into the storyline surrounding Aces and Eights and the fact that you want Aces and Eights to get their comeuppance at the hands of someone from TNA, then this probably was not the show for you. Now, we're live in Indiana, Pennsylvania, and we started the show off with Aces and Eights basically being accosted in the back by 3 security guards not letting them enter the building, and Bully Ray basically said, "Get out of our way or there's going to be problems." So, this is the Kowalczyk Complex in Indiana, Pennsylvania. And the first thing that we get when we open the show is Cowboy James Storm comes out to the ring. And of course, we see clips of what happened last week in his awesome match with AJ Styles. So, apparently, Styles' new submission is called the Calf Killer. I guess Todd Kennelly put that over last night, so that's what we're going to call it now, is the Calf Killer. And Storm is limping from said Calf Killer from last week. Storm says he asked AJ for a fight last week, and he certainly brought it in more ways than one. At this point, we see AJ Styles, of course, looking emo-tastic as usual, standing there at the top of the steps in the crowd, just listening to what Storm has to say. Storm admits Styles was the better man last week, but he's not going to cry over spilt milk. Oh no, because he's a beer drinker, of course. Storm calls out Aces and Eights for retribution due to last week's attack and tells them bring as many guys as you want because he's going to take at least one or two of them out. But Aces and Eights do not come to the ring. Bad Influence do. Christopher Daniels says he and Frankie Kazarian want to weigh in on last week's attack. Daniels says Hulk Hogan may have a robust mustache, but he doesn't have an answer to Aces and Eights' problem. Daniels says he and Kaz know the answer to the problem, and it's Fortune. Kaz grabs the mic and basically tells AJ to forgive him for the cheap shot from last week. They're gonna forgive AJ for cheap shotting them last week. And it's okay, we understand that you can get caught up in the moment, no problem at all. So Kaz says AJ needs to head to the ring right now and join his boys to reform Fortune. Storm says no one wants Bad Influence to throw it up, they want to see them shut the hell up. So Kaz calls James Storm Travis Tritt and basically says the people don't concern him or Chris Daniels. Says Storm is irrelevant, and Storm immediately attacks both men. Now, Kaz hits a low blow and turns the tide, and basically Bad Influence powder to the back. Storm rolls around in the ring in pain, and at this point, Aces and Eights hit the ring without 3D, of course. So Mr. Anderson grabs Storm as Garrett and Wes pull out the table. Aces and Eights set up the powerbomb. Mr. Anderson goes for it, but here comes Joseph Park out of nowhere. But Numbers Game basically takes him down as well. Doc and Nux go for the double choke slam. And Bully and Devon show up and basically say, we're going to do this my way, back off. So, the next thing you know is they set up 3D, and we see 3D for the first time in forever, which Park kind of went to the side on it instead of laying out flat, but, I mean, I guess it was the first time 3D has been used in forever, so, I mean, I was just happy to see it again. It didn't really matter that Park didn't sell it properly, but, yeah. You get caught up in the moment, and if you jump up too fast, then maybe it's a possibility. You're not going to get the rotation you need. So Bully picks up the World Heavyweight Championship and holds it in the air. Aces and eights celebrate as we go to commercial. So, not bad. Not a bad opening segment, and I love Bad Influence, as you well know, and I very soon will be sporting that Bad Influence t-shirt that they're wearing. Still don't know what color I want to get yet. And basically, AJ is still Emo Styles, standing in the crowd, looking like, I'll quote Kaz, a sparkly vampire. I thought that was funny. Basically, Joseph Park came out of nowhere, and he's here to stay, at least for the time being, so he's still after aces and eights. And, of course, we saw 3D, which was awesome. We come back commercial break, and we see Joseph Park get stretchered out from the 3D through the table. Bully tells the crowd he told them he and aces and eights aren't screwing around. Of course, he asks, do you know who we are? Bully says they are the men responsible for all the carnage in TNA and taking out every single one of their heroes. Bully says the people ain't got no heroes left, and the crowd, of course, boos in response. So Bully says last week he called out one man, and so the crowd immediately starts chanting Hogan's name. Bully says that's right, 100%. He called out Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan will be his and the Aces and Eights' next victim. He calls Hogan Dad and says he's got until the end of the show to answer the challenge. Bully concludes, of course, with the normal Aces and Eights credo. When you ride with the Aces and Eights, you never walk alone. They all pose in the ring with Devon and Bully Ray holding up the championships. So, basically, we find out that early in the day Hulk Hogan was in the building, but he left promptly before the show began. And, of course, Teflon Taz makes a point to utter the fact that there is no chance he's going to return. We hype up the two championship matches we're going to get tonight, the World Tag Team Championship matchup, the rematch with Bobby Roode and Austin Aries taking on Chavo and Hernandez, and the Knockouts Championship match between Velvet Sky defending against Mickie James. So, our first matchup is going to feature Taryn Terrell, and she comes out to the ring. And, of course, we're putting over the brand new Knockouts website, which looks phenomenal, by the way. And if you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to check out the Knockouts website. Now, basically, we come back commercial break, and we see Hulk Hogan arriving to the arena, so he has come back for whatever reason. And Hogan doesn't want anything to do with talking to our mysterious interviewer and says, just let it go, don't drop this, don't bother me. Tara comes to the ring, sans Jesse, of course, and we get our first matchup of the evening. And, of course, ODB, as usual, is our official referee of the Knockouts division. So, we go midway through the match, and basically, Tara with a slam, and goes for the slingshot leg drop, and it is to no avail. Taryn fights her way out of the corner, hits some running clotheslines and a back elbow. Taryn hits a snap suplex, goes to the top rope, goes for a splash, but Tara sidesteps her and nails the canvas. She sets up for the spider web and nails it, goes for the standing moonsault, takes a little bit too long showboating, gets rolled up from behind in 1, 2, 3. So 6.5 minutes. Not a bad start to the show, honestly, and Taryn Terrell is continuing to impress week after week. You have to think eventually we're leading towards Taryn Terrell becoming Knockouts champion. I don't think it's going to be for a while, but I think what we now are building towards, and we'll build towards it later in the show, is the fact that I think Mickie James is going heel, so we'll see what happens with that. So we haven't seen Mickie James heel in TNA yet, so we'll see what direction we go with that. But when you're working with a veteran like Tara, obviously your match can't be bad. So it was a really good showing for Taryn Terrell, and she's really starting to impress me, and I'm very happy with the match. It was a good way to start the show. So we come back, and Robbie E is texting someone backstage, and we find out that he's talking to Jesse Goddard, and basically calls him over and says, Rob Terry used to say that Jesse was better than he was, and he'll prove he's a better man and a better bro. Not a broski, a bro. Robbie says beating Rob Terry tonight, Goddard will join the ranks of such bros as George Washington Bro, and he will be right by his side. Goddard flexes and says, I don't need your help. So, yeah. Rob Terry's. Oh, God. I'm not looking forward to this. And when I saw this match was being set up, I was like, oh, God, I don't want to see this match. I really don't. So we come back from commercial break, and exactly what we're going to get. Rob Terry comes to the ring. And then Robbie E comes out, and with Jesse pretty much by his side, he calls Jesse a real Hollywood superstar. A real Hollywood superstar, unlike the Hamsters in Indiana, Pennsylvania. Jesse makes his way out to the ring in a very arrogant manner. So, of course, Tara is still in the back from the previous match he had with Tara and Terrell, so she is not at ringside for this match. Second match of the evening, Jesse with Robbie E taking on Rob Terry. So Terry pushes Goddard into the corner, climbs the second rope. Rob Terry catches him with the cross-body attempt, and this time nails a power slam for a 2 count. Robbie E pulls on the referee's leg, distracting him. So Rob Terry rolls out of the ring and jaws with Robbie E on the outside and picks Goddard up and sends him flying into him when he tries to go for a Pearl Harbor. And Terry throws Goddard back in the ring and hits his spine buster and gets the 3 count. So 3 minutes and 10 seconds, basically. So, my God. Okay. I'm going to mention real quick, I don't like, just like what I think with Big E Langston's finish, I don't like Rob Terry's finish either. It doesn't really work. It's a transition move. It's a signature spot. It's not a finish. So, I mean, give Rob Terry a legitimate finish. I don't mean to choke slam. Every big guy has to use a generic choke slam. See Matt Morgan. And we'll talk about him in just a few minutes. But, I mean, give Rob Terry a different finish. I don't understand why this feud has still not resolved itself. I thought it was over between the former Robbie E and Robbie T tag team, but apparently not. Apparently it was put on the back burner momentarily, and now Jesse is brought into this. So there's a good chance we're going to get more of this, and this feud is probably not over. Great. Come back, but I like Robbie E, so it's fine. I mean, I don't mind Robbie E. I mean, him and Zack Ryder are completely different in every single way, but I mean, I like Robbie E. I really do. So, I'm okay when he's on television. We come back from commercial break, and we see Bad Influence catching up with Bobby Roode. Of course, like I said, they're trying to get Fortune back together, so of course they've talked to Bobby Roode. And they try to sell him on the reunion so they can take on Aces and Eights and prove who's the dominant stable in TNA. He says, he's not really sure. He's kind of like on the fence of what he should do. And they said, okay, just think about it. And Bobby starts to mull it over, and we see Austin Aries peering from the side, having heard absolutely everything. And we'll see what happens with this. If Fortune gets back together, which I highly doubt, because I'm pretty sure Aces and Eights and Matt Morgan are going to end up being TNA's saving grace in the end, whether we like it or not. So, but it's awesome because I don't mind AJ being TNA's weapon against Aces and Eights. Excuse me. Oh, good lord. Excuse me. We see what happened 2 weeks ago in Impact during the Full Metal Mayhem match in Corpus Christi, where Jeff Hardy got nailed with a hammer and then put through a table. So, pretty much, there was a mention, a very strange mention actually, that Jeff Hardy is thinking about calling it quits. So I don't know where we're going with this at all. I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything, so I don't think that's the case. Probably just storyline perspective. We'll find out where we're going with that. Jeff Hardy will return eventually. Then we finally see something we were waiting for a long time. We've been waiting, 2 years for this. Chris Sabin is finally back in TNA. And he was in Indiana, Pennsylvania tonight, and he actually wrestled tonight. Of course, that will be shown this coming Thursday on Impact. So, it's going to be nice to see Chris Sabin back. I mean, it sucks we don't get the Motor City Machine Guns back, because obviously Alex Shelley ended up going to Japan. And apparently the WWE thing failed, so basically that didn't work out. But I mean, it's gonna be nice to see Chris Sabin back, and I'm really excited to see him back. And I think that Sabin at full strength would be a really good opponent for Kenny King in the X Division. And Sabin and Petey Williams have had a series of amazing matches over the time they were in the company, and I'm really interested in seeing them go at it one more time, if not many, many more times. So, we find out that up next we're going to get the World Tag Team Championship rematch, Chavo and Hernandez against Rude and Aries. So that's our first of 2 championship matches for the evening. We come back from commercial break, and Bobby is preparing to go to the ring, of course, for this matchup. Aries comes up from behind and just brings up what happened. The fact that he's going to basically leave him from behind and reform Fortune with AJ and Kaz and Daniels. But Aries said he heard about it because he has the greatest hearing that ever lived. I like this greatest insert statement that has ever lived. I think that's funny for me. So Aries mocks Fortune for disappearing in 2010 and being the man who beat Rude for the World Championship last year. Of course, this is always brought up in fights, so I guess that's how it works. We come back to the arena. Chris Daniels is on commentary, which is always amazing. Kaz is basically standing and observing because they don't have a headset for him because they only have a 3-man broadcast headset. And that even put Mike TNA off this. It was actually just Todd and Daniels. And, I mean, I didn't see Mike TNA on commentary because I know he wasn't. It was Todd, Taz, and Daniels on commentary for this matchup. So, basically, Aries and Rude make their way to the ring. Rude looks a little bit conflicted and quite annoyed at Aries' guilt trip from a few minutes ago. We get to our third match of the evening, which, of course, is the World Tag Team title match. And Rude ends up tagging in and launches Aries into Hernandez. Hernandez catches him and slams him in the canvas. Hernandez drops both men like a bad habit. Chavo gets the hot tag and slingshot senton on Aries. Tilt-a-whirl satellite head scissors takeover on Bobby Roode. Goes for 3 amigos, but only gets 1 suplex off, a float over, and he ends up hitting a capo kick instead. So Roode attacks Chavo, who connects with a nice DDT, which basically spiked Roode like an exclamation point. And Aries broke up the pin. Hernandez clotheslines Aries, knocking him out to the arena floor. And they're setting up for the finish, and Kaz interferes to distract the ref and Chavo at the same time. Rude hits Hernandez with a spine buster. Not the double R spine buster, but just like a regular spine buster. Aries goes up top for the 450. Hernandez sends Rude into the ropes, so Aries gets crotched on the top rope, and he gets knocked out to the arena floor. Kaz with another distraction on the ref. This time, Daniels interferes, and Rude hooks him up. He's going for the STO, and instead of hitting... Sorry, I'm tired. Pretty much, instead of hitting the man he was supposed to hit, he nails Bobby Roode, and the faces clear the ring. Chavo hits the frog splash, 1, 2, 3. So we went almost 9 minutes. I mean, not bad. Not bad match at all. I like these matches. I think this could be a really awesome 3-way feud for the World Tag Team Championships. Or in Kaz and Daniels' case, the World Tag Team Championships of the world. So, I think it's not bad. Other than the fact that Hernandez, when he went for Air Mexico, they moved out of the way, and pretty much he cracks his head against the canvas, and it looked like he folded his neck like an accordion. And it was like pretty sickening to watch. So, pretty good. Pretty good match. Kudos to these 4 as usual, and Bad Influence as well for keeping it interesting. So, we come back from commercial break. But before, actually, I skipped something. Before we come back from commercial break, actually, before we even go to it, we see Matt Morgan talking to the mysterious interviewer. Matt Morgan's in the weight room, in true Chris Farley fashion. He doesn't even know where it is because he knows where it is because he's there. Morgan says if Hulk meets up with Bully Ray tonight, he's pretty much signed his death warrant. Morgan says he is the one with the solution, and he's headed to the ring to let everyone know about it after this break. So, like I said, we come back from break, and we find out TNA is returning to Florida, and it will be returning to the home of Hulk Hogan, Tampa, Florida. So next month they're going to be taping from Tampa, so that's going to be pretty cool. We see how Hogan kicked Sting out of TNA because he got him to trust Bully Ray when he didn't want to trust. He wanted to trust his gut, and obviously Sting forced him to make the choice to choose Bully Ray. And of course that ended up backfiring. So Matt Morgan continues to promise Hogan all of his mistakes will come crashing down on him one day. Well, Matt Morgan comes to the ring, and he gets on the mic and says, the problems in TNA have all come down to one thing and one thing only: mistakes made by Hulk Hogan. He let Bully Ray infiltrate the family. He didn't give Matt Morgan the number one contendership, thus eliminating the problem of Bully Ray before it even happened, because it never would have happened, because Morgan would have taken the championship off Jeff Hardy, which is pretty much what he is saying at this point. And the fact that Jeff Hardy didn't get the job done in the Full Metal Mayhem rematch. So the fans start chanting for Hogan, and Morgan says before Hogan goes face-to-face with Bully tonight, he wants to present him with a solution. So he calls Hogan out. So Hogan comes out, and the fans pop like mad for it. Hogan gets to the ring, takes off his sunglasses, and before Morgan can utter one word, the Hogan chant starts to drown out everything. So it's intensely loud. Morgan gets back on track and says Hogan is out of backup. Aces and Eights are going to chew him up and spit him out, basically, if he faces Bully Ray in the ring tonight. Morgan presents Hogan with the ultimate solution. No, it's not Jim Hellwig. It's himself. Morgan says at the end of the day, no one wants the opportunity more than he does. But he will eliminate Aces and Eights. He is the 7-foot knight in shining armor, and if given the chance, he will carbon footprint Bully Ray's head into the 5th row. But only for a small price, that is. And the small price is the fact that he is going to be granted, at this very moment, the number one contendership to face Bully Ray at Slammiversary in Boston. Well, Hulk Hogan decides to respond to that, and he does in true Hogan manner, basically saying brother over and over again. And I like Hogan, so, brother is fine. He says, a lot of what you said is true, and I believe you could get the job done. But at the end of the day, he was kind of hoping he'd do the right thing instead of asking for something in return. Do it without asking for anything in return. Hogan says he was hoping that Morgan was the second coming, but again, at the end of the day, he's only doing it for himself, all the wrong reasons, and not for the greater good of the company. Hogan says handing Morgan the number one contendership would be a bigger mistake than giving it to Bully Ray, and ouch. Hogan says he knows TNA is in dire straits right now, but he's going to face Bully Ray right now, no matter what happens. He's not going to hand Matt Morgan anything. And in true Hogan fashion, he never heard Andre the Giant come out and whine like a little bitch. That's a very interesting statement to end this segment with. Morgan, you know what? Since he's returned, this is probably the best I've heard him on the mic. And I think that we are leading to Matt Morgan actually doing something. And I'm not talking about the team with Joey Ryan. I'm not talking mid-card Mafia. I'm literally talking about maybe, just maybe, a main event run for Matt Morgan finally. And maybe TNA will finally give him the ball to run with. Which, storyline purpose, that's pretty much what he's been asking for since day one. So, wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all. Come back commercial, good stuff. Come back commercial break. Bully Ray's backstage as Aces and Eights. Talks about Joseph Park getting the 3D earlier. Then they switch gears momentarily, talk about Hulk Hogan. And he's in absolute disbelief he's going to come out alone. Bully makes everyone give them their word they'll let him take out his father-in-law by himself. So apparently, if you go to Impact's website, ImpactWrestling.com, there's something called On the Clock. And what we're going to do here, if you can vote for the contender for the X Division Championship. Their votes will go to Rashad Cameron, which is Sabian, the Black Cheese, and Rockstar Spud, who just got a contract, and Suicide, which I'm not sure if it would be Kaz or Daniels or whom it would be, but Suicide nonetheless. So, vote for that if you get a chance to find out who is going to be in the ring with Kenny King for the X Division Championship sooner rather than later. I believe it's going to be the show that's going to be taped in Tampa. I'm not positive. I think it's the end of May, if I remember correctly. Like May 25th, potentially. Let me look at this. No, it's not 25th. May 23rd. Yeah, there we go. May 23rd, the Tampa show, actually. That's going to be when this person that wins the voting is actually going to get the title shot. So we see Mickie James make her way to the ring. And she's going to be facing off against the Knockouts champion, Velvet Sky. And this is your main event for the evening, folks. It really is. Just like with Raw, we're actually going to end our final wrestling match of the evening is going to be a women's match. And you know, Juliet, hopefully you're watching this because this is for you right here. And for all the fans that really love women's wrestling are getting it. There was 2 matches on TNA this week, one of which was a championship match. And like I said, the Knockouts division, say what you want about TNA, but they actually know how to utilize women's wrestling. WWE obviously does not, and like I said, they are the one, I say this over and over again, and I'll say it again tonight, they are the one who has Sarah Del Rey training their developmental talent. So, you'd think WWE would actually have the advantage, but they do not. The Knockouts division far supersedes the Divas division. Now, granted, if I could take some of the Divas and put them in TNA, I would. And move some of the indie girls on TNA, I would. But it's just armchair booking. So this is our main event. And Mickie James gets a near enziguri. She goes for a kip up. She goes up top for the Lou Thesz press off the top, and she nails it. This time, Velvet kicks out. So, Mickie James is beside herself, and Velvet fights back. Goes for the Dark Lotus, and Mickie James fights out. Backdrops her. So, she gets measured, and she goes for the Mickie DT, and Velvet pushes her off. Mickie responds. She goes right back to work on the knee, which was injured earlier on in the match. They actually worked some submission wrestling earlier on in the match, working leg grapevines and leg bars, and then Mickie had that locked on. It looked like Velvet might have tapped, but she didn't, and Velvet ended up turning on the pressure earlier on in the match as well to turn about as fair play. So Mickie went for a spot. I really couldn't tell what she was going for, and it basically was just pretty much just a setup for this, which was an inside cradle, 1, 2, 3, and the crowd was really, really into this match. So, it wasn't, okay. It's not a great match, but I mean, it got almost 11 minutes, so I mean, it was your main event for the evening. I mean, the wrestling on this show was kind of mixed, honestly. I mean, I didn't mind it overall, but it was kind of sloppy in places, and the crowd was really into it, so that was helping the match, but it just, Velvet's selling is still not quite there, I guess. I mean, she did sell the knee, so I mean, that was fine, but I mean, it was kind of like overdramatic, I guess you could say. But it was alright for what it was. I mean, it wasn't anything to write home about, but it wasn't terrible. So, I mean, it was kind of like in the middle between good and bad. I can't say mediocre. I mean, just kind of there, if that makes any sense. Immediately, we cut back to Bully Ray and Devon talking about Aces and Eights' dominance and their own subsequent dominance over the years. So Bully says he's going to be the guy who puts the final nail in the coffin of Hulkamania. Good luck, Bully Ray. Many have tried. All have failed. Bully says they can't be stopped. And of course, Devon says, I can testify to that. Devon can be his own person, but obviously the Team 3D stuff, the Dudley stuff, it seems like Devon is just basically second banana to Bully Ray. So, that sucks because Devon's good for his own stuff as well, but he's the television champion. And he needs to defend the championship. Now, granted, he did defend the title against Samoa Joe, and that's the reason why Joe's got hurt by Aces and Eights. So, I don't know what's going to happen with that. So, basically, we get our commercial break. Actually, no. Jeez, I keep forgetting about this stuff. So Brooke shows up, and she's talking to her dad, and Hulk is taping his wrists backstage. Brooke says, I don't want you to go out there because of all of my mistakes, and Hogan says it's about more than that. Brooke says he can't go out there because he just had knee replacement surgery. Hogan needs to prove to himself and everyone else that he is a good man. Hulk gives her the cross necklace that we've seen numerous times. They embrace. Brooke leaves, and Hogan mutters to himself, what am I doing? And we go back to commercial. So, come back from break. Hogan and Bully Ray's big confrontation in the show. And Bully Ray comes out immediately, stops the music, pulls out a piece of paper, and reads off a laundry list of every single person the Aces and Eights have decimated along the way, even dropping the Pope's name, which is really funny because obviously Elijah Burke doesn't work for the company anymore. Now, Bully says there's only one more name to go, and he personally calls out Hulk Hogan. So Hogan comes out, he's ready to fight, he has hands, his fists are taped, he's ready to roll. He goes nose to nose in the center of the ring with Bully Ray. So Bully says, shut the music off. He asks Hogan how his knee's doing. Ray says he bets Hogan can't wait to punch him in the face, nail him with a big boot, and then drop the big Hulk Hogan leg drop. Ray says that's not going to happen. Well, that's not going to happen for a lot of reasons, but in this case, that's not going to happen. And he's not fooled by Hogan at all. He sees one thing in Hogan's eyes, and that's pure fear. Hogan fears him because Bully Ray reminds him of himself. This was, of course, mentioned back when they were trying to turn Bully Ray into, super babyface. Bully says he is the last of a dying breed. And the fans start chanting for Hogan. Ray asks Hogan if he ever thought they'd be standing here face to face. Then tells him he is the president of the Aces and Eights, the World Heavyweight Champion, his son-in-law, and the man who will personally end Hulkamania. So Hogan basically responds to this in the way Hogan says he can't put an end to Hulkamania because Hulkamania is never going to die, brother. So they drop their mics. Bully spins the hat around. They get ready to battle. Bully spits right in Hulk Hogan's face, trying to egg him on a little bit more. And he gloats at what he just did. I just spit in Hulk Hogan's face. How many people can say they did that? Hogan rips the shirt in true Hogan fashion. He gets ready and he's ready to fight. And then and the whole crowd just goes into it too. Then Bully points back at him and says, screw you, Dad. Block the punch, right hand, block the punch, right hand. Whips Bully off the ropes, going for the big boot, but Ray powders to the outside. Aces and Eights come out. Bully says, surround the ring, kind of like the Shield does. And he makes his way back in the ring. Lights go out, and we know what's about to happen, folks. When they turn back on, Sting is in the ring with a baseball bat pointing at Hulk Hogan's chest. So Bully tells Hogan to do it, kind of egging him on in this case. Sting turns around and returns the favor to point the bat at Bully Ray and knocks his hat off. Them be fighting words. Aces and Eights attack and Sting and Hogan take them out. They clear the ring completely. Sting points the bat at Hogan and silently exits the ring as his theme starts playing. Hogan looks on shocked and is left in the center of the ring to contemplate what just happened as we fade to black. So, okay. Hogan and Sting are supposed to be the saviors for Aces and Eights because no one else in the locker room can get it done, and that's been proven, so that's basically what they're trying to do. But I think them to be... Sting can somewhat still go. Obviously, Hogan, for a lot of reasons, can't. So Sting is a lot better candidate to go after Aces and Eights and actually get some comeuppance than Hogan is. Obviously, you can feed everyone for the two punches, the big boot, the clothesline, whatever you want to do with it. But when it all comes down to it, you need someone fresh, young blood that represents TNA in order to take down Aces and Eights once and for all. But honestly, this worked for me. This worked really well, and it's nostalgic, 100%, but it works. It's nostalgia that actually works, and sometimes nostalgia works in short doses. Now, do I think Hulk Hogan needs to beat Bully Ray for the I almost said for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Does Hulk Hogan need to win the TNA World Heavyweight title? No. Will he? Maybe. And no, if Hogan wins the championship, I wouldn't have a problem if he won the title and then just put it up in a tournament and then we crown a new champion and build a new star that way. AJ Styles is basically set up. Eventually, when he comes around, AJ is, and shave the tool beard and stop standing in the steps, like chatting with absolutely no one but himself. Once he makes his decision and goes officially TNA, then yeah, I think that AJ will be the saving grace of the company, and that's how it should be, honestly. And Matt Morgan, honestly, I think he actually might help as well. You can look for people like Joseph Park and Eric Young and Magnus and Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle. All the people that Aces and Eights took out along the way are going to be their undoing in the end. And I totally believe that. So this set up a decent impact, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I didn't mind the 2 championship matches. I like the fact Chris Sabin's coming back, and we're going to see him next week. I would be very happy if I never saw Rob Terry again. Rob Terry or Jesse Goddard, I think I just get rid of them both. I don't like either one of them. Taryn Terrell is proving she actually belongs in the ring, and it works really well. I very much enjoy what Bad Influence is doing. They're trying to bring the band back together and reform Fortune with AJ and Bobby Roode. And that, of course, gets some collusion between Bobby Roode and Austin Aries as they're trying to win the tag team championships back from Chavo and Hernandez. So I like the way we're going with that. I like the fact that Matt Morgan is a gun for hire, but he's only doing it if he gets something in return. I don't mind that. I think that works really well. And I'm really interested to see what's going to happen next week with the X Division Championship. You got Kenny King, and now you've got Petey Williams gunning for him. And you've got Chris Sabin coming back. And you got to talk about people like Zema Ion, who obviously are always going to be wanting a championship shot. Sanjay Dutt wants to have the championship shot. I mean, the X Division is going to be awesome. And like I said, Jigsaw and Sabian and all the superstars that want a gun for Kenny King's championship. This is going to be fun, folks. It really is. I liked Impact this week. I'm looking forward to next week. So, not a bad show. Overall, pretty good. And maybe we'll get to see something with Rockstar Spud. You know what? Overall, I love seeing the 3D back. It was great seeing it, even though it didn't look right. But it was nice seeing it back for a change. And I will give it up for the fact that it's a slow burn. But the Mickie James heel turn that I'm pretty sure we're getting sooner rather than later is coming, so I don't mind that either. I like the fact that the women's match actually ended the show, and they showed that they have faith in the women's division, obviously, more than just being eye candy, kind of like how WWE treats it most of the time. But it wasn't a bad show, and Hogan and Sting fighting off Aces and Eights, I mean, they could have been overpowered, and the Young Guns could have hit the ring like a house of fire, and everyone could have cleared the ring out together. But you can't really do that when you take out everyone in the roster with Aces and Eights. So Hogan and Sting had to get a little bit of shine from this. And it worked. I mean, Sting had a bat. So, I mean, you obviously have Sting with a weapon, so it's not a big deal. He gets to lay waste to most of Aces and Eights. But, I mean, they're going to bump like a pinball for Hogan, because that's what they do. I mean, heels bump like a pinball for Hogan. It's happened throughout history, so you know that's how it works. But it wasn't a bad show, and I like to see where we're going with this and where we're going to head towards Slammiversary, which is a month away. So, next month is Long Day. Is it Slam? Yeah, June 2nd. Wow, sorry. Yeah, there we go. June 2nd is Slammiversary, so we're 2 months away, so there's always that. So that will be Impact for this week, and wrestling fans, you can join me on Saturday morning when we will be talking WWE SmackDown and Undertaker versus Dean Ambrose. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. That's going to be awesome. And then, of course, wrestling fans, stick with us because we're going to be talking Raw live from somewhere on the road after the event on Monday night. Me and Alan will be discussing it along with Will, and it's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. It's going to be great. So keep tuned in. We're still trying to get to 5,000, so get us there before Wednesday. And Unbeats, Guys, I really am. I'm exhausted from today. I've been up all day, and it's time to just go to sleep. So, on that note, until tomorrow, boys and girls. That's all I got to say about that.